My name is Rachel. I'm looking at my phone, which is flooded with missed calls and texts. My mother has called 47 times, my father 11 times, and my brother Jake has sent 3 texts, all asking me to call back urgently. This sudden flurry of attention is a stark contrast to the past 6 months of radio silence in our family group chat. It all started on my graduation day. I had spent 4 long, arduous years juggling 2 part-time jobs, student loans, and a degree in business administration. My family, a well-off clan in the suburbs, always seemed more focused on my brother Jake's achievements. My parents, Mr. and Mrs. Thompson, were the kind of people who were more concerned with appearances and social status. They were the type to brag about their son's successes at every social gathering but rarely showed any real interest in my struggles. As graduation day dawned, I felt a mix of excitement and nerves. I woke up with a flutter in my chest, knowing that this was the culmination of years of hard work. In my small, rented apartment on the outskirts of the city, I ironed my graduation gown myself and pinned my cap in front of the tiny bathroom mirror. I looked at my reflection and whispered, "You made it." I had saved 2 seats in the family section of the auditorium. Just 2 simple seats, one for my mom and one for my dad. A week before, I had texted them all the details, the time, the location, and even the parking instructions. My mom replied with a curt, "All right, dear." And my dad sent a single thumbs up emoji. There was no excitement, no "I'm so proud of you." But I convinced myself it was okay. They were reserved people, I thought. All that mattered was that they would be there. The graduation ceremony was a sea of celebration. Families filled the auditorium, cheering, crying, and waving signs with their children's names. Balloons and flowers were everywhere, and cameras flashed non-stop. When they called my name, Rachel Thompson, I took a deep breath and walked across the stage. I scanned the crowd for those 2 familiar faces, but all I saw were 2 empty seats. Despite the pain, I forced a smile. I had worked too hard to let this moment be destroyed by their absence. I shook the dean's hand, took my diploma, and walked back to my seat with my head held high. It was only after the ceremony that the dam inside me broke. I took out my phone, hoping against hope that there had been some emergency or misunderstanding. That's when I saw the Facebook notification. 40 minutes ago, while I was walking across the stage, my mom had posted pictures of a fancy restaurant. The caption read, "So proud of our son Jake on his big promotion." Jake, who had landed a decent promotion at his corporate job, was being celebrated while I was left alone on the most important day of my life. My hands were shaking as I called my mom. She picked up on the second ring, and the background noise of the restaurant hit me like a punch. Laughter, clinking glasses, and soft music filled my ears. "Hi, Rachel. How are you?" she said, as if it was just another ordinary day. I asked her where they were, even though I already knew. She answered so casually, "Darling, we already have a star in the family. We didn't think you'd actually graduate. Jake's promotion is a big deal." She let out a small laugh, not out of cruelty but as if my feelings were an inconvenience. I hung up the phone, feeling a strange sense of calmness wash over me. I sat in my car in the parking lot for a long time, still wearing my graduation gown with the diploma on my lap. In that moment of silence, I made a decision. I was done trying to prove my worth to people who had already made up their minds about me. I drove home alone, made myself a simple dinner, and started planning. For the next 6 months, I was in a zone of intense focus. The job hunting process was brutal. There were nights when I sat at my kitchen table at 2 a.m., staring at rejection emails, and the thought that maybe my parents were right would seep into my mind. Maybe I wasn't good enough. But every time these thoughts surfaced, I would remember that parking lot moment. I would close my laptop, go to sleep, and wake up ready to start again. I graduated with honors in business administration, but I never told my family. I let them keep thinking of me as the underachiever. 3 weeks after graduation, I landed an entry-level analyst position at a mid-sized financial consulting firm downtown. The job wasn't glamorous. I was making coffee runs, building spreadsheets, and staying 2 hours late every evening to learn new things. But I was determined. I studied the senior consultants, asked questions that made some of them uncomfortable, and volunteered for the projects that no one else wanted. Slowly but surely, people started to notice. My manager took note of my hard work, and so did her manager. By the 4th month, I was included in client meetings. By the 5th month, I independently drafted a cost restructuring proposal that saved one of our mid-level clients over $200,000 annually. On a Friday afternoon in the 6th month, I was called into the partners' conference room. I was terrified, thinking I had made a huge mistake. Instead, they slid a folder across the table. Inside was an offer letter for a junior partner track position, something that usually took people 3 to 5 years to achieve. I was being offered it in just 6 months. The salary figure on the paper made my head spin. I signed it on the spot. That weekend, I dressed up not for anyone else but for myself. I drove downtown to the shiny, glass office building where I now worked. My name was already being added to the internal directory under a title I had earned all by myself. I stood in front of the glass doors in my best suit and asked a stranger to take a photo of me. No caption, no explanation. I sent it to my parents in the family group chat and placed my phone face down on the passenger seat. 40 minutes later, when I picked up my phone, I was bombarded with all those missed calls and texts. When I finally called my mother back, she was sobbing. She had looked up the firm and the building on the internet. She understood what that photo meant. Her daughter, the one she thought wouldn't amount to much, had not only graduated but had already surpassed her expectations. She kept saying she was sorry and that she didn't know. I listened quietly, just as I had listened to her laugh on my graduation day. When she finished, I said the words I had rehearsed in my head for 6 months. Mom, I forgive you. Carrying this anger is too heavy for the life I'm building. But forgiveness doesn't mean we go back to the way we were. Trust can't be turned on and off like a switch. Respect must be consistent. She went silent. I often think about that girl in the graduation gown, sitting alone in the parking lot with her diploma. I don't feel sorry for her anymore. I'm grateful because that was the moment I decided to show up for myself. And that decision turned out to be the most powerful thing that ever happened to me. You don't need a cheering section to build a real life. You just need to persevere on the days when the seats are empty because those are the days that truly define you. If this story resonates with you, if it touches something deep inside or reminds you of your own journey, please subscribe to this channel. Every week, we share real stories of resilience, quiet strength, and people who refuse to let their circumstances write their ending. Hit that subscribe button, turn on notifications, and join a community of people who choose themselves every single day. You found this video for a reason, so don't leave without staying.